First invocation. Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tesvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham. Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Satpratyaya Kimnu Vihaya Santam Hridyesha Chinta Rahito Hrudakyah Katham Smaramastamameyamekam Tasmritistatra Drudhaiva Nishtha. 30th verse. Kupe yatha gada jale tathantah nimajja buddhya shitaya nitantam pranam cha vacham cha niyamya chinvan vinde nijaham krutimula rupam maunena majjan manasa swamula charachaiva satyatma vicharanam syat esho hame tanna mama swarupam iti prama satya vicharanangam gaveshanat apya hridantaram tat pate dahanta paribhugna shirsha athahamanyat spurati prakrishtam naham kritistat parameva purnam aham kritim yo lasati grasitva kim tasya karyam parishishtamasti kinchidvijanati sanatmanonyat tasya sthitim bhavayitum kshamah kaha. In Vedanta, one of the sadhana chatushtaya is Mumukshutvam. Intense desire to be free from samsara through knowledge is called as Mumukshutvam. The only prayer that this devotee has to the Lord is, Bhagavan, when will I be free from samsara? The more intensely he prays for this, greater is his Mumukshutvam. There is gradation in Mumukshutvam also. Manda Mumukshu is somebody who wants samsara to remain also, but doesn't want the sorrow from samsara. On one hand, he feels samsara is very good. What is wrong with it? But he says, all that I want to remove is the little bit of sorrow which is coming in and through that samsara. That should not come. The example we had seen in our Dhanyashtakam class, Padmapadacharya ji, he writes in one place, this person has taste for eating fish, but in spite of knowing that the bone can choke him, still he wants to eat by somehow or the other avoiding the bonds. So that is Manda Mumukshtvam, where a person wants samsara but doesn't want the sorrow from samsara. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi in Saddarshanam, his focus has been to remove the root of samsara. Root of samsara is avidya, ignorance, which expresses in the form of ahankara. I am this person, I am the one who is going through different experiences. That is the root of samsara. Now, what is the prayer of a mumukshu? Bhagwan, when will this ahankara mellow down? When will I understand this ahankara to be mithya? Because remember, what was the definition of mumukshu? One who wants freedom from samsara through knowledge. He is not seeking part protection of samsara and part removal of dukkham. This is whatever is the solution pointed out, that I'm going to follow and practice sincerely. His prayer to Bhagavan is not to change somebody else's ahankar. His prayer to Bhagavan is not to fix somebody else's ahankar. He says the notion that there is somebody else has come because I think I am this person. That also we had seen, Saddarshanam, Tat and Yushmat. This notion of duality comes first because I think I am this individual ahankar. That is the first expression of duality. Then other expressions come in the form of you and I. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi gave an example to show how we have to do self-inquiry. If our goal is to become free from samsara, and we have understood that this freedom will come through knowledge, by negating ahankara, where do we start? He said, first do shravanam. Listen thoroughly about what is my true nature and how I am not this body, not this mind. Having reflected upon it, the way by which we can strengthen this understanding, way by which we can abide in this understanding, that method is called as meditation. So Bhagavan gave example of a diver. Just like you have to do shravanam, this diver has heard about what is that jewel from people around. Then he has reflected also which part of the well it is, where I have to dive, how I have to dive. Has gotten clarity about the process. Now he is ready to take the dive within. Just like the meditator is ready to dive within, this diver is ready to dive. He goes there, finds the jewel, comes out. Now, how is this meditator going to dive? First step is to control the breath. Pranam cha vacham cha niyamya chinman. Pranam means observing the breath, controlling the breath, and controlling speech. Controlling speech means controlling mind. If you notice within, constant commentary is going on by our mind. Whatever experiences it has gained, it is again repeating it. If we are busy in the world, we don't notice it. But moment the active mind becomes quiet, that volume goes up of the inner comment, inner chatter. So second step for preparation in meditation is to withdraw the mind from inner talk. External speech is anyway quiet. At the seat of meditation, we don't speak. But inner talking constantly continues. In fact, majority of our self-effort majority of our alertness, majority of our spiritual power, willpower, will get tested in quietening this mind. If somebody has done Shravanam, Atma Lakshana will be readily available. But no guarantee that mind will become quiet. That is where we have to take Bhagavan Krishna's advice. When Arjuna complains that all your meditation is good, but it's not practical. Bhagavan's question, counter question to him is, how long have you practiced? If abhyasa is there, then this quietening of the mind can also be mastered. For a long time, this person has repeated this practice of meditation, specifically paying attention to withdrawing the mind, holding it still. And second part he says is Vairagya. Means towards those things towards which mind is going, internally I should not have value for those things. Only then mind will not go there. That is Vairagya. Vairagya means not having misplaced importance for things. If our Shraddha, if our conviction is still having taste for those objects, taste for those opinions, taste for those things which are pulling the mind out, now there is a tug of war happening. On one hand, the opinion is pulling out. On other hand, we are trying to pull it inside. Unless our mind realizes that nothing of the world is a priority, nothing of the world is an absolute goal is self-abidance. So everything outside is to lead us inside. If something outside is stopping me from going inside, then I have to rethink. Rethink in the way that I am relating with that outside thing. Pranam cha vacham cha niyamya chinvan. Having done this, then this mind is ready to actually think about nature of self. How to think about nature of self? Bhagavan gave one line indication in 31st verse. Eshaha aham etat na mama swarup. Only one line. Negation first, then assertion. Although in the verse, Eshaha aham comes first, assertion comes first. But in our journey of meditation, what comes first is negation. What should I negate? Whatever becomes known, that I should negate. Whatever becomes known as an object, that I have to negate. Starting from objects outside, world outside, this body, mind, ahankara. With a very calm mind, noticing all these things and negating them to abide in the true knower who will never become known. That is this Atma Tattva. Now, the efficacy of meditation would be how uninterrupted this thought process is. The reward of quietening the mind is that we can think about Atma Lakshana without interruption. If mind is not held still, mind is not quietened, one can still meditate. But it will be very diluted meditation. Atma Lakshana also will come and several thoughts of the world will come. And we'll wonder, why am I meditating about something else? Why am I thinking about something else? Because mind is not sanyamya. It is not controlled. Now, control of mind also, there are different techniques. For example, if you just chant Om, that is one powerful technique to quieten the mind from all other thoughts. Just that chanting, first pay attention to sound, then pay attention to silence, then think about the symbolic meaning of Om. The sound represents upadhis, the conditionings, and the silence represents turiya, which is the substratum. Now there also we will realize taking support of Om is one step. A stage should come when I can withdraw the mind just on the strength of abhyasa and vairagya. Because quietening the mind by chanting Om is like putting a blanket on different objects. Those objects are still there. The moment you take out the blanket, same objects will appear. Means moment we stop chanting Om, same thoughts will come. Mind will again not settle down in one thing. So that practice is helpful if mind is very turbulent. And some days will be like that. Not every day meditation will be same. At that time, we have to know which meditation I should pick. If it is very turbulent, more supports we have, better it is. That day we can do 4 rounds more of japa and little bit less of meditation. But we should know where are we headed. The main final destination is being able to quieten the mind through our own conviction and repetition practice and turning attention to the self. Assert the self, negate the conditioning. Then Bhagavan said, in this way, when we constantly meditate, inquire into the source of aham, this ahankara which was so strong, eventually it falls. False meaning, its mithyatva, we are able to hold on to more and more. There is a person called as this person. That notion should get erased. The meaning of I does not go with this individual. Meaning of I goes with all-pervading self. Bhagavan says, don't think it is impossible. If we follow this path sincerely, this is where it will lead us to. In that same place where ahankara was there this blissful self will appear. Not somewhere else, in that same place where this ahankara is currently being seen. Where the snake is, there alone we will find rope. Where ahankara is, there alone we will find Shuddha Chaitanya. Then Bhagavan said, one who has eaten up this ahankara. Eaten up means negated this ahankara, falsified this ahankara. What else remains to be done? As long as karta is there, until that point, kartavya is there. Once kartrutva is negated, there is no kartavya for that jiva. Why there is no kartavya for jiva? Because he doesn't think of himself as a jiva. Means a stage should come where our journey should culminate at this point, where jivatva has been removed and all other things which were mentioned to him because of jivatva, those things are also removed. This we have studied in Vedanta Sara also. What is this topic called as? Adhyaropa and Apavad. Because we think we are this individual, scriptures also start with this point that you are an individual. And they will start elaborating different facets of individuality. Within that individuality are injunctions, do's and don'ts. They are so that our mind gets purified and it becomes fit to study Vedanta. But there is a point when that individuality has been negated. Following dharma has become his nature. He doesn't have to be told to follow dharma. This is another thing. Huh? When Vedanta says there is no kartavya, it doesn't mean that he starts living a very impulsive life. All the sadhanas that he has done, they are very well there. But he is not bound by any do's and don'ts. That is this verse, Bhagavan says, then alone you can say there is Jivan Mukti. If at all there is some kind of terms and conditions still attached to moksha, is where is freedom? Something is there which is holding him back. So all adharma he has won over through dharma. All adharma he has removed from his life by holding on to dharma. And what is the question of Nachiketa to Yamacharya? Tell me that which is beyond dharma, of course, but it is beyond adharma, of course, but it is also beyond dharma. Anyatra dharmat, anyatra adharmat. Means that truth which is untouched by dharma and adharma. Tell me that truth. But again, we have to appreciate this in the right context. It is not talking about a person who is going to live an impulsive life or go in the path of adharma. It is talking about person who has sattva guna, has dharma already in his life. He will be able to benefit from this freedom. Next verse is a very unique verse in Saddarshanam. Generally we feel Bhagavan Raman Maharshi talks more about who am I inquiry. It doesn't talk much about Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. Next verse is saying something very fundamental for a Vedanta sadhak. You see what he says? Ahasputam tattvamasiti vedah. Ahasputam tattvamasiti vedah. Tathapya samprapya paratmanishtham. Tathapya samprapya paratmanishtham. Bhuyo vicharo matidurbalatvam. Bhuyo vicharo matidurbalatvam. Tatsarvada swatmataya hi bhati. Tatsarvada swatmataya hi bhati. Ahasputam tattvamasiti vedah. Tathapya samprapya paratmanishtham. Bhuyo vicharo matidurbalatvam. Tatsarvada swatmataya hi bhati. Vedah tattvamasi iti sputam aha. Vedas have declared tattvamasi. You are that absolute truth. So clearly they have declared this. Sputam means very clearly. Tathapi asamprapya, paratmanishtham asamprapya. In spite of this being said in this way, without attaining the nishtha, without attaining self-abidance. Bhuyo vicharaha matidurbalatvam. The need to think more because of doubts. If a person gets doubt in spite of saying, in spite of hearing Mahavakya, Bhagavan says that is the weakness of the mind, debility of the mind, Means if Pramana Buddhi is there, according to Raman Maharshi ji, you hear Mahavakya once, knowledge should take place. He says, what is the need to reflect so much? What is the need to question so much? Bhuyo vicharah mati durbalatvam tat sarvada swatmataya hi bhati. That truth is ever shining as the self. Where is the question of having doubt about the self? That this person gets so many questions. This is all those questions are because we don't have sufficient faith. So this is emphasizing the importance of Mahavakya. What is Mahavakya? We have seen several times. Vedansara, we saw the elaborate analysis of Mahavakya also. How to understand Tatpada, Tvampada, Aikyam and so on. But in simple words, there are two notions which are prevalent in a seeker. One notion is, I am finite. One notion is, I am finite. Second notion is, God is different from me. He is there, but he is somewhere. Mahavakya is that which will help us correct both these notions. Mahavakya will say, Tat Sat Tvamasi. That consciousness which is a substratum of this whole universe. If something is substratum of universe, can it be finite? Universe is infinite. Its substratum cannot be finite thing. This is that consciousness is infinite. Tat Sat Tvamasi. That Sat you are. So it is removing this notion that I am finite. And the second notion is God is someone different from me. So when it is said Tat, what does Tat refer to? Consciousness with total conditioning. Consciousness with total conditioning is Ishvara, Bhagavan. So Mahavakya says, Tat Sat Tvamasi. That Sat you are, they are not two similar things. Now this is where the student gets doubt. He says, Bhagavan is so powerful, I am a Jiva, no power. Bhagavan is all knowing, I am a Jiva, little knowing. Jiva can become Bahudnya, not Sarvajnya. He can know many things, but he cannot know everything. That is where this Bhaga Tyaga has to be understood. When oneness is pointed out, conditionings get negated. Conditionings not only get negated, conditionings get falsified. Because all conditionings have emerged from that consciousness, which is unchanging. From Nirvikara, anything that emerges has to be only an appearance. Whatever has emerged, if it is really true, then the substratum will undergo modification. So because conditionings have emerged from that truth, which is changeless, conditionings are only an appearance. That's why when we equate Tatpada and Tvampada, conditionings, it's not like a mathematical equation. You cancel left side and right side. Because they are mithya, they don't have separate degree of existence. What is there is the consciousness part, Satchit Ananda part, that alone is there. All conditionings are mithya. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, if you hear this once, knowledge should take place. That I am that truth, these conditionings are mithya, and the conditionings of the world are also mithya. Because there is no other way in which this oneness will be pointed out. Means other than Upanishad Pramana, I will never come to know that I am one with God. I might think I am the self. But what is God's nature? What is the substratum of this creation? That will not be understood without Upanishad Pramana. So Bhagavan says, if you heard it once, what is the need to hear it again? His expectations are very high, Raman Maharshi. In our mind is very strange. All erroneous things, it will hold on to very strongly. And whatever good things are being told about us, that you are not Jiva, you are Brahma, that it will refuse to accept. I had heard one story when disciples living in Gurukula, once they live means some or the other problem will be there. So they come to Guru and complain. This other student called me a fool. Guru tells him, how many times did he call you? He said, this morning only he called. For 11 years I've been calling you Brahman. He said, you did not pay attention to that. And today morning, once he called you a fool, you took it so seriously. If you had taken Mahavakya with same seriousness, then this line would be true. Bhuyo vichara mati durbalatva. No need to think twice. You heard it, we got it. There are different students who got this knowledge at different times. Puja Guruji has nicely written in commentary. He says, Parikshit Ji Maharaj heard it once, he got moksha. Then Indra Bhagwan had to hear it 108 times. Not 108 times, 108 years. Brahmaji's years, 108 years. He had to go there, stay, continuously learn. Then he got it. Then he says, Shvetaketu had to hear it 9 times. Tattvamasi comes in Chandogya 6th chapter. Shvetaketu heard it 9 times. This is then definitely there is some hope for us also. Because you have heard it so many times and will keep hearing it. But what is needed is pramana buddhi. This point also we should think. In spite of hearing, why does this knowledge not become very clear? In that story of Virochana and Indra, we have seen that story in Kenopanishad also. Both go to study with Brahmaji. Virochana hears the teaching. Before Brahmaji clarifies it, that you have understood correctly, Virochana thinks I have understood. He says, I want to go and teach. So before he gets validity from Brahmaji, he comes away. And he starts teaching whatever he has understood. Brahmaji said, whatever is seen in the right eye is the self. And he looked at Brahmaji's right eye. In Brahmaji's right eye, he saw his body. He said, body is the self, and he started teaching. So there Shankaracharya clarifies, elaborates, why did Virochana not get this? And he says, first reason is, he was jealous of Indra. He did not go to study Vedanta. He went to study because Indra has gone to study Vedanta. He says, as long as there is some kind of competition, some kind of jealousy hidden within, knowledge of infinitude will not take place. Then he says the second was pride. He was so proud, I am the king of Asuras. Nobody from Asura community, they were able to come. I alone came. He says that is the second reason why Virochana did not get it. And third one, he says, although he came to study Vedanta, his mind was still in Bhoga Sakti. Mind still wanted to enjoy some object. He says, as long as the taste for object is there, Vedanta either we will not understand or misunderstand. That story is elaboration of this verse. Ahasputam tattvamasiti vedaha tathapya samprapya paratmanishta. In spite of being taught clearly, why did knowledge not take place? This, in other words, we say lack of sadhana chatushtaya. And this we have to see more in ourselves. What is that quality I have to work on more and more? Is my viveka lacking? Generally, viveka, if we do thorough shravanam, we are very clear about what we should discern. We know what is Atma, we know what is Anatma. Most sadhakas, the weak part will be the second one, Vairagya. In spite of knowing what to choose, that is precisely what we will choose. Then Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. There also, if there are things to be worked upon. Shama, controlling the mind. Dhamma, controlling our response to the world outside. Knowing when to withdraw, when to engage. Uparati. Non-complaining. Titiksha. Having faith in scriptures, in the path being pointed out. Shraddha. And being able to place our mind in the chosen goal, Samadhanam. With all these things, seeking freedom from samsara. Mumukshutvam. If one of those things are missing, if one of the sadhana chatushtaya is weak, then ability to understand Vedanta is lower. It takes longer time to appreciate what they are saying. It is just like, if somebody is not hungry, you try to feed, try to make the best food item. I say they will not eat. But if hunger is there, whatever we make, they will relish. That hunger is looking at this world as bondage. Looking at our mind as bondage, this ego as bondage. An intense desire to be free from this ego. The moment we put ahankara in the place of samsara, suddenly our direction of quest changes. If we say samsara is something outside, some person, some object, then whole journey is trying to change the outside world. But moment we say samsara is this ahankara, then the journey is to change our misunderstanding. Now Bhagavan says, have you studied Kenopanishad? You say yes. Then see what all verses from Kenopanishad you can remember from 35th verse. It's a summary of several mantras in Kenopanishad. Navedmyaham mam utavedmyaham mam. Navedmyaham mam utavedmyaham mam. Iti pravado manujasya hasyah. Iti pravado manujasya hasyah. Drugdrishya bhedat kimayam dvidhatma. Drugdrishya bhedat kimayam dvidhatma. Swatmaikyatayam hidhiyam na vedah. स्वात्मैक्यतायां हि धियां न भेदाः न वेद्म्यहं मामुत वेद्म्यहं माम् इति प्रवादो मनुजस्य हास्यः दृग्दृश्यभेदात् किमयं द्विधात्मा स्वात्मैक्यतायां हि धियां न भेदाः अहं मां न वेद्मि I don't know myself उत aham mam vedmi I know myself I don't know myself and I know myself iti manujasya pravadaha hasyah such kind of statements by human beings is laughable according to Bhagavan Raman Maharshi. This why is it laughable? A reason also he gives. Drigdrishya bhedat ayam atma dvidha kim. Are there two things here? One is drashta, another is drishya. So I thought there are two things. Whole Drigdrishya Viveka was to say, separate drashta from drishya. You are not drishya, you are drashta. Just now we meditated upon it. He said that is only 50% Vedanta. To separate drik and drishya is halfway. Next step is to understand whatever is drishya is an appearance in drashta. There is no separate entity called as drishya, independent entity called as drishya. We have never seen drishya independent of drashta. Just like we have never seen the illusory snake independent of rope, we have never seen mirage water independent of sun rays. Like that, we have never seen drishya independent of drashta. And this we can experiment right here, right now. I am seeing this world, drishya. That drishya needs thought, vritti. And thought is illumined by drashta. Vritti is also drishya. But generally we say the object outside, I am seeing it. But I am seeing that object only as a thought. And that thought is illumined by consciousness. That thought borrows existence from consciousness, gets illumined by consciousness. If it is a calm thought, it reflects happiness of consciousness, ananda of consciousness. All three are borrowed from Chaitanya. So if that is the case, if there is only one thing, where is the question of knowing it well or not knowing it? That is the point. Huh? Bhagavan says to know something well, you need something different from yourself. So here there is only one non-dual truth, which is Chaitanya. There is nothing else other than Chaitanya. So where is the question of knowing that Chaitanya well and not knowing it? Means if we say, I know consciousness, that also is an erroneous statement. Because some objectification has happened while we make that statement. We are sitting in ahankara and trying to see consciousness. The example Bhagavan Shankaracharya gave in Kenopanishad was, fire can say it burnt firewood well. Because firewood is different, fire is different. Or fire can say it did not burn firewood completely. So for something different from it, this statement is valid. But fire cannot say it burnt itself well. Because burning is nature of fire. So there is no question of burning itself or not burning itself. In the same way, knowing is the nature of self. The absolute knower is Shuddha Chaitanya, which is non-dual. Other than this truth, there is nothing else. So where is the question of knowing this consciousness or not knowing this consciousness? It is that because of which everything becomes known. It is to make this statement, I know consciousness. I mean, there is some objectification involved. If you say, I don't know consciousness, you say, who is making the statement? Because to make this statement also, there has to be consciousness. To say that I don't know, the one who is illumining this ignorance is consciousness. And the main point is that consciousness is non-dual. There is nothing other than that consciousness. Abiding in that is freedom. Swatmaikyatayam dhyam hi na bhedaha. In this non-dual truth, having understood the oneness, having understood the one non-dual truth, in that person's thinking, there is no more duality remaining. This was the second chapter in Kenopanishad, third chapter rather, where he says, the student comes to the teacher, and before the student can say anything, teacher shakes his understanding. Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhramevapi nunam. If you think you know Brahman very well, then you really don't know Brahman thoroughly. Tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasyatvam yadasya deveshu. Athanu mimamse mevate. Whatever you are saying, you know very well, either related to tvam pada or tat pada. Yadasyatvam yadasya deveshu means you have included some conditioning there. Then only you can say you know it well. Therefore, what should you do? Go back and reflect. Athanu mimamsa mevate. Then what did the student do? Went and sat down quietly, reflected on this truth, came back again. And he roars, Naham manye suvedeti, no na vedeti vedacha. It is the same verse. Na aham manye suveda iti. I don't say I know Brahman very well. Means I am not objectifying it. Na u na veda iti. Nor do I say I don't know Brahman. Because it is a knower, it is always aparoksha. This whole assemblage is running because of that consciousness. Yes, I cannot say I don't know Brahman. Veda cha. Veda means I know it, cha means I don't know it. Means I know it without conditionings and I don't know it as conditioned. Nona vedeti vedacha. Amongst us, whoever understood this statement of mine, they understood. Naham manye suvedeti, nona vedeti vedacha, yonas tadveda tadveda. Amongst us, whoever understood this particular thing, he says they understood it. Then comes the next mantra. Avidnyatam vijanatam, vijnatam avijanatam. Avidnyatam, those who say I don't know, they know. And those who say I know, they don't know. Vijnatam avijanatam, avidnyatam vijanatam. How do we understand it? Those who say I know it as an object, they don't know. Avidnyatam vijanatam. Those who have understood it as something which is without conditionings, which never becomes an object, they know. So those who don't know it as an object, they know. Avidnyatam, vijantam, vijnatam, avijanatam. Shankaracharya clarified there, he said, teacher is testing the student so that he doesn't start his own sampradaya. If he has erroneously understood, he will again start his own method of teaching. Since teacher wants him to not stray away, that's why he is giving this teaching. Next verse is a repetition of one idea Bhagavan has mentioned already. He says, first get self-knowledge. First get self-abidance, then engage in discussions. Merely discussing several topics without tasting the bliss, without getting abidance, it is not going to do us much good. Traditional example is gargling water. It feels as though it is giving us something, but it is not quenching our thirst. Like that, he says different discussions without seeking self-abidance is futile. We are missing the point. You see what he says? Hrutprapya saddhama nijaswarupe, hrutpapa saddhama nijaswarupe, swabhava siddhe nupalabhya nishtham. Hrutprapya saddhama nijaswarupe, swabhava siddhe nupalabhya nishtham. Maya vilasa sadasat swarupa, Maya vilasa sadasat swarupa, Virupananaika mukha pravadaha, Virupananaika mukha pravadaha. Hrutprapya saddhama nijaswarupe, Swabhava siddhe nupalabhya nishtham, Maya vilasa sadasat sarupa, Virupananaika mukha pravadaha. Swabhava siddhe, second line. Swabhava siddhe nijaswarupe, last part of first line. In your book, is it given as 2 lines or 4 lines? 4 lines, right? Okay. Some books, they just write it as 2 lines. So you'll be confused. I'm just reading the Anvaya part from the word by word meaning. Mostly it will be similar. Some places I might do it differently. Swabhava siddhe nijaswarupe saddhama hrit prapya anupalabhya nishtham. Swabhava siddhe means in one's own self, which is ever siddha, which is of the nature of bhava, existence, and it is ever present. Nijaswarupe, that which is our own swarupa. Saddhama, it is our true home. Dhama means abode. Abode of Sat, that is our true home. Hrit prapya, available as a witness of thoughts, available as aparoksha aham. We don't have to go anywhere. Such kind of abidance without attaining it. Anupalabhya, nishtham. Without going within, without seeking this abidance. If that person remains busy, what things is he busy with? He is discussing about nature of that Atma. Is it Sat or is it Asat? Is it of the nature of existence or is it non-existence? Sarupa Virupa. Is it with form or is it without form? Nana Eka. Is it many or is it one? Mukha pravadaha, such kind of talks, Bhagavan Raman Maharshi calls it as Maya Vilasaha. Maya Vilasa means it will keep us busy, but it will stop us from abiding in the truth. One thing we should remember, Bhagavan is not saying we should not discuss these topics. What he's saying here is, discussion about these topics is meaningful only when it has led us to self-abidance. If it leads to more confusion or stronger ego, that before I knew physics, math and few other subjects, now I know Vedanta also. I can discuss all these topics, Sadasat, Sarupa, Virupa, Nana, Eka. So then also it has not served its purpose. Shankaracharya ji in Viveka Chudamani, he is even more critical. Mujo Guruji has given a lot of quotations from Vivek Chudamani. He says, even if we can eloquently speak on Vedanta, Vag Vaikhari Shabda Jhari. Jhari means, flow. Just like you have effortless flow of water, this person has effortless flow of words. Vag Vaikhari Shabda Jhari. Shastra Vyakhyana Kaushal. He can interpret scriptures very well. In spite of this, if that Varanam is not there, if his inner resolve is not there to seek self-abidance, he said that is only for bhukti, not for mukti. Vaidushyam vidusham tadvate bhuktaye natu muktaye. It will be for getting some kind of bhoga, but not for moksha. Then another example he gives, if there is some person who is very good in playing veena, he says that will, just like that person is doing it for entertainment, like that spiritual topics also will be for some kind of intellectual thrill, but not for self-abidance. And then last he says, be careful about words. Shabdajalam maharanyam chitta brahmana karana. Means words are to indicate the object. If we remain at words, we will keep using alternate words. Means if I tell somebody, please get a glass of water. Now that person keeps asking questions with different names of water, different languages. Do you want pani? Do you want neer? What is tanni? Do you want tanni? Says everything but doesn't bring water. He says that is what happens with spiritual discussion sometimes. We are using alternate words. What is Brahman? Brahma is Atma. What is Atma? Atma is Ananda Swarupa. What is Ananda Swarupa? Ananda Swarupa is infinite. But what Bhagavan is requesting us here is, those words should point to the object. Shabda should lead us to Shabda Artha. There are two different things. Shabda is only a word, like the word water is Shabda. Shabda Artha is not water. Shabda Artha is that object. So unless that object is brought, merely using words is not going to help us. Like that he says, merely using words of Brahma. You see, we need the words because without words you cannot communicate. Just like you want to bring water, you have to use the word water. But that word has to lead through Shabdartha. So whenever we say the word Brahma, it should indicate meaning of that word Brahma. And this meaning only we will know. Means whether that word is indicating the meaning or not, that only we will know. Maya Vilasaha. This is the play of Maya to keep us in samsara, to keep us busy. But again, we have to understand it in the right spirit. Bhagavan is not telling us don't discuss. Bhagavan is also not telling us one should not use different lakshanas. Otherwise, why would Upanishads give so many lakshanas? You see, Kathopanishad, every verse has 4 to 5 indicators of Atma Lakshana. So he is not saying that don't meditate upon Atma Lakshana or don't discuss about Atma Lakshana. But he says that Atma Lakshana should point to Atma. Through word, going beyond word. Once you have that water, then you don't need word. You just have to drink it. Only so that this person brings only water and not anything else. To remove everything else, you need to use that word water. Like that Atma Tattva also. To remove everything else, we need to use words. So we'll pause here and continue in January after our Yajna in Fremont by Swami Ishwaranandji, 9th to 13th. Please do save the date, Valmiki Ramayana Sundarakanda. Until then, if you get a chance during December break, we can do Parayanam of Saddarshanam on our own. One idea here and there, one note that you have taken down somewhere, that is sufficient to take us into more contemplative state of mind. So just chanting this. Second is, many of you are unable to come for Thanksgiving camp. So the Shiva Mahimna Stotram discourses have been uploaded. Please do take a look, and different stories of Bhagavan Shiva. Very simple, straightforward. First 9 verses have some darshana topics, but we didn't go detailed into darshanas. Mainly the symbolic meaning of stories of Lord Shiva, that is also uploaded. The others, I think we will do it next week. Saddarshanam, Bhagavad Gita chapter 6, and Kathopanishad also, the remaining sessions. So plenty of time to catch up. We'll meet again in January. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om, everyone. Hari Om.